club today, we are once again opening up the data bank, as we are now calling it, as Daniel Griffis of Action Sports Jack stops by to break down the numbers of the Jaguars' 26-21 victory over those San Francisco 49ers. We'll also look a little bit deeper into Brian Thomas Jr.'s production on Sunday. Has he turned a corner? That and a whole lot more coming up on a Tuesday edition of Club 904. Let's get after it, folks. Welcome into a Tuesday edition of Club 904. I am your host, Mia O'Brien. Excited to be with you on this fine Week 5 Monday Night Football Tuesday. A whole heck of a lot going on here at Action Sports Jacks. We're going to give you an exclusive preview, perhaps, of our friends at Talent Talks, our all-new UNF show, since we are live and syndicated here on the Action Sports Jacks 24/7 channel. Be sure to like and subscribe to all of their various channels, whether you're joining us on YouTube, Facebook, X, Twitch, the .2 channel, the .com channel. Make sure you check out all the great stuff, including the great stuff that our guest today has in store over on actionsportsjacks.com. He is the one and only Dan Griffis, taking some time to once again hang out in Club 904. Appreciate you hopping on with us, Dan.
Oh, thank you for having me back.
Absolutely.
It's always nice to be able to talk. Sometimes when I post, I post some stats or whatever, and it's being able to talk about it. You get to, provide nuance to whatever it is. Because sometimes, like, I may post one stat, and for me, it's like, hey, I'm just trying to give as much context in as I can in a broad sense. But if someone only sees that stat and maybe they don't see something else that I posted or an article, it can admittedly be a bit misleading. So it's nice to actually talk about the numbers and kind of give people the best idea of what these numbers mean.
And we've got time today. That's what we're here to do. We're here to talk. Happy Hour Sports. Thanks for hanging out in Club 904. If you're here, make sure you give us a shout, comment, whether you're watching on YouTube, Facebook, X, wherever you are joining us in the club. Let's dive right into it, Dan. The assignment today, the Jaguars' offensive and defensive line. Is their production through 4 weeks of the season sustainable? Of course, the most noteworthy line, perhaps, coming out of this 26-21 victory on the offensive side of the ball for the Jaguars. Let me make sure that we've got you hanging out with us here in this multi-view. There you are, Dan. Some numbers you put together. Of course, the Jaguars ranked number 1 in the National Football League in terms of sack percentage, just 2%, which is insane. We're going to look closer into that. But the biggest stat that's not listed here, of course, is that the Jaguars' offensive line ensured that San Francisco did not have a quarterback hit for the first time in a regular season game in 10 years. Big picture, 30,000-foot view. What are you seeing from Sean Sarrett's crew so far in the trenches?
Yeah, you were talking about whether or not they could sustain it. It's not like they have faced bad defensive lines either. I mean, the Carolinas, they got Derek Brown. He's a really, really good player for those that aren't familiar with the Carolina defensive tackle. And then in week 2, you go and face Trey Hendrickson, who he unfortunately beat Walker Little on that interception in the end zone. But otherwise, the Jaguars have given up 3 sacks in 4 games. You mentioned no quarterback hits on Trevor Lawrence, keeping him healthy. The hope is that can eliminate the turnovers going forward. But I think that the key contribution is really the difference you're seeing in the run game right now. Travis Etienne's averaging 6.1 yards per carry. And it's not just the offensive line either. We're talking about offensive line, obviously, right now. But kudos to Brenton Strange and the receivers on the perimeter. They're I'm not sure if you saw the Travis. I'm sure you did, the Travis Hunter block to spring that little Etienne run there. But it's more than just offensive line. They're really doing their part as a unit in terms of run blocking. They're second in run block win percentage from Next Gen Stats, ESPN, and 4th in yards before contact. This is a completely different team, and you just saw a couple of changes on the offensive front, but I think a lot of it is schematic changes from previous years.
So that was going to be my first question right off the top, Dan, because, and again, beauty is in the eyes of the beholder. And certainly the folks who were here over the last 3 years would argue that, they were doing a just fine job in the Doug Peterson administration, coaching both sides, all three phases of the ball for the Jacksonville Jaguars. They were top 7, though. They weren't number 1 like they are now in terms of sack percentage, but they were top 7 even after everything else seemingly went wrong in 2024. So, in the words of the San Francisco 49ers defense coordinator, Robert Saleh, were the signs there that this could be an offensive line that could turn a corner with perhaps some changes in the scheme itself in the run game?
Yeah, the interior line last year you lose 2 of the 3, but the interior line played really well. It's really nice to see Anton Harrison come back. He's been fantastic pass blocking for the Jags this year. Walker Little is second in run block win percentage among tackles via ESPN's win percentage ratings that they put out. So that's really awesome to see. All 3 of the Jaguars' interior linemen are ranked among the top 20 in pass blocking. 2 of them, Ezra Cleveland and Robert Harrison, are in the top 10 in run blocking. So it's really across the board. The Jaguars are doing their part. There's not really any weak links in this offensive line right now, and collectively as a unit, they're playing extremely well.
If you've got a question or a comment for Dan, whether on the offensive or defensive line, be sure to leave us a comment, whether you're watching on YouTube or X live here on Club 904. Dan, I was going to ask you to go name by name along the offensive line. But before we do that, since you kind of did that in the run game, and we'll look at pass protection because perhaps that's where there's a little bit of a discrepancy, but I think context is king there. You saw Cole Van Lanen, the swing tackle, have to step in for the Jaguars and play right guard for Patrick McCarry. We do not know the extent of if he was just sore, banged up. Hopefully we'll get more information from Liam Cohen when he meets with the media on Thursday. Yes, Thursday, folks, because of course the Jaguars are playing on Monday Night Football, and so the schedule is altered this week. Cole Van Lanen steps in at right guard. We saw Chuma Edoga rotating with Anton Harrison after he suffered an upper body injury, but then returned to the game at right tackle. What did you see from those 2 reserves in particular in this game that either you felt like there was a drop off or perhaps the Jaguars didn't skip a beat?
It didn't. Edoga gave up a couple of pressures noted by PFF. But I think run blocking, I didn't see too much of a change there. Cole Van Lanen didn't give up any pressures. So I think, and it's nice that the Jaguars have that depth that they can do that. In previous years, it had been Walker Little, and there was some concern there with this offseason with the loss of Cam Robinson, who would be that swing tackle, and would they perform as well as Walker Little did if needed. God forbid the Jaguars lose one of their offensive linemen. And it's nice that all of the Jaguars backups really have that versatility. A lot of the linemen do. You look at Patrick McCarry, Chuma Edoga have both played numerous spots, and Patrick McCarty's played the least amount of snaps at right guard in his career. So the versatility they have there in depth is really nice to see. Hopefully the Jags O-line is good to go going forward. It's not going to be easy facing the Chiefs defense, but that was really nice to see that it wasn't a noticeable drop off with those 2 coming in and seeing some snaps.
So you noted Walker Little number 2 in run block win rate, which I don't know if anyone would have seen that coming. You also posted on your Twitter account at Dan D. Griffis today that in terms of pass block win rate, he is the lowest rated at his position of any of the Jaguars starting 5 offensive linemen. I bring this up not because I want to pick holes in Walker Little's game, but I know there's a lot of fans out there who do. And so give us context, because I think it's important. I've asked Liam Cohen about this. The reality is now that he is, for the first time in his career, the Jaguars' unquestioned starting left tackle, you are seeing him go up against the cream of the crop when it comes to the Trey Hendrickson, Will Anderson, Danielle Hunters of the world. Would have been Nick Bosa this past Sunday. Instead, it was largely Bryce Huff. And so I think that that's important to note as to maybe why he is not ranked in the top 10, top 15, like some of those other Jaguars offensive linemen in the passing game.
Yeah, we and Trey, it would have been a gauntlet going from Trey Hendrickson to the duo that Houston has to Nick Bosa. That's about as tough as it gets. I think Will Anderson's leading the NFL in pressures right now. but it's not. They've only given up 3 sacks. The one pressure cost the Jaguars a costly turnover in the red zone against Cincinnati. But largely, the Jaguars have our second in pressure percentage. A majority of that is coming at the left tackle position, but he's still he's about average right now in terms of giving up pressures per game in the NFL at tackle, and that's I think pretty decent considering the gauntlet that he's been through. And it's not like Bryce Huff isn't a good pass rusher either.
No, we need him to have 8 sacks this year, Dan. Come on, we need that pick over to the Eagles to convert to a 4th-round pick for Tank Bigsby.
So and he didn't give up any pressures this week, so that's a really nice bounce back to see from him. Coming off of couple of tough games against Trey Hendrickson and the duo from Houston.
We got plenty of questions along the offensive line from you for you, Dan, on YouTube right now. As I'm looking over into our control room, Jason Hamby, I think he turned the volume down, but now the volume's back up here in the studio. So I apologize if you guys hear any ambient noise. We're live in the Action Sports Jacks podcast studio right now. I'll try to get those TVs shut off at some point in time. So this one is from Robert on YouTube, Dan. And Robert says, Wyatt Milam should be ready to go if need be. Brian adds, Mia knows how critical I've been about the O-line over the past few years. I'm very happy with what I'm seeing. It's finally a true focus. I think what both of those gentlemen are hinting at is this idea of the fact that Makari had to come out of this game, the fact that you had to ask your swing tackle to kick inside to guard. Will we finally see the Jaguars' 3rd-round pick at some point because he's been inactive the first 4 games after suffering an injury in the preseason? Or do you think that Cole Van Lanen did enough, Chuma Edoga's done enough to earn that respect and this belief of, hey, if they need to step in a pinch, they can?
I'm good. I think. I obviously for the fans, it'd be and the staff to see what Milam can do. But I think that Chuma Edoga played really well in the preseason. And I didn't see anything this past weekend that was concerning from him or Cole Van Lanen. So I think for right now, God forbid, hopefully the Jags all 5 are good to go from here on out. But he's another one of just a guy who can play a lot of different spots for the Jags if need be. And I'm very excited. I think he could be a guard of the future for the Jaguars. But right now, you don't need it, and that's awesome to see in Jacksonville for the first time in a while. You really don't have any concerns about the offensive line or its depth.
Mm-hmm. There is one concern, and let's hit one more question before we get to the quarterback, who is also a question at times. This is from Marco Yolo on YouTube, Dan. Hard to call the offensive line elite until 3rd and shorts are near automatic. There were several stuffs on Sunday, also nearly stuffed on a sneak. What say you to that?
I'd have to go and look at the numbers. I know they're not like they're at least average. I know that much.
Right.
So it's not.
It's better
not
than
like,
it was a year ago. It's not like they're the Raiders.
Yeah.
Right. And it's not like they're the Raiders where Ashton Genty's like total yards and his total yards after contact are the same.
And a lot of it too. The big you're seeing a lot of big explosive runs for the Jaguars in the run game. ETN leads. He's tied for the NFL lead with 10 rushes of 10+ yards. So it's not just the shorter areas. Maybe that's where you see Bashal Tutin come in more. ETN's kind of stolen that right now. He's really the feature back, which is hilarious considering what was the talk 2 months ago, or all off season for that matter, and last season. Maybe you see some more Bashal Tutin there. But I really like what the Jaguars have done in the run game, even short area, excluded.
Speaking of the run game, speaking of the Jaguars offense, as much as today's episode with you, Dan Griffis, is focused on the trenches, we'd be remiss if we did not examine the quarterback, who, as I asked Liam Cohen on Monday, noted that he felt like the first half for Trevor Lawrence against the San Francisco 49ers was as good of a half as he's played in 2025. And I think the EPA per play suggests that, especially in the first half. The completion percentage was around 78.9%, as we noted here on our postgame show. And then obviously things kind of went awry in the second half because of perhaps the pre-snap penalties mounting, this perhaps being rushed by whatever adjustments may have been made at halftime on the defensive side of the ball for the Niners. I want to take a look, though, specifically at the pick that was negated by a penalty by Trevor Lawrence. And so I want your take on this one, Dan. In terms of what you see here, what did Trevor Lawrence see? Is there any open player here that he could have hit? Did he get enough protection from the aforementioned offensive line?
You yeah, that edge is, yeah, I mean, probably go to LaQuint Allen there.
Mhm.
Little like he's right in front of him. If you wanted to play that a little safer, he's right there. And he's got some yak. It's not. There's nobody really in front of him. That it
But
wasn't.
that's an example, right, of the quarterback could have, in this situation, tuck and run it, especially with an offensive line that, if in your opinion, gave him ample protection on this play in particular.
Yeah, he's got. It's not like somebody got beat just hilariously bad. So I think that, yeah, you could either just take the loss and go to a next play. Maybe you look at LaQuint Allen out there, running across the line. I certainly don't think he needed to put it, and I don't think that's PI either. That was a bit
Right.
generous, but yeah, 36 is probably your best option there. Looking at it afterwards, or just going to the next play and not putting the ball in harm's way.
So you guys know at home that was an audible that I threw at Dan at the last minute. But the reason I wanted to do that impromptu film breakdown is to say this: that sack stat that we let off the show talking about, that the Jaguars are number one in sack rate, is that because for 4 years we've heard that part of why the Jaguars have consistently been in the top 10 in sack rate, it's due to the quarterback. Do you think that this 2% sack rate in 2025 is due to the quarterback? Is it due to the offensive line? Could the quarterback even be bringing that number down further?
I think a lot of it's the offensive line. A lot of it is the Jaguars lead the NFL in screen percentage. So you're not going to get sacked on those. You hope that 20% of before this past weekend, the Jags had the highest screen rate in the NFL at 20%. So ideally, you're not getting you're not getting pressured or sacked there. I think a lot of it is the shorter time to throw, which the screens play a part into that. Um, and also, Trevor Lawrence, his pressure. There's a statistic in sports data analytics for the NFL of pressure to sack ratio. How many of your pressures are turned into sacks? Do you let be sacks? And it's a lot more indicative of quarterback play than it is of offensive line play. In 2022, Trevor Lawrence was top five. And then the last 2 years, it's kind of fallen down a little bit more and more. Last year, he was about league average. And this year, he's back in the top five, which is awesome to see. So I think it definitely is. I think he looks noticeably more comfortable in the pocket this year. And he had that one play where he almost got a little panicky. And then he ended up making a great play. I don't remember who it was that he threw to, and ended up converting. I think it was a third down. I'm blanking on what it was, but there was a play where he started to look a little panicky, and then dumped it off short to somebody, and they went and made a play. So I think that's maybe old Trevor takes a sack there. Had some issues with that last year where he kind of had some self sacks, but I think that he is doing better in that area, certainly this year than the last couple of years.
Which I do think there's merit. Sometimes you have to take the sack.
Mhm.
And you go back to that play on Monday Night Football, the last time the Jaguars played on Monday Night Football in 2023. And could he have taken a sack there? The injury against the Indianapolis Colts at home in 2023. Could he have just taken a sack there? And I'm not suggesting that he should be dirting it or going down every single time he anticipates pressure, because I don't think that that is in the best long term or short term best interest of the franchise. But it bears noting, to your point, that stat, I love that, from 22 versus where he is today. Perhaps another bad habit that Liam Cohen and his staff will have to break Trevor Lawrence free of, or by just bettering the ecosystem around him. Let's get to the other side of the ball, the defensive line. And you really went in depth with this one this week on actionsportsjax.com, Dan. Let's pull it up. Obviously, the Jaguars defensive line is top 10 in multiple metrics. Josh Hines Allen is top 3 in pressures. A lot to dive into. Let's start with 41. Trent Williams gave up 4 pressures in this game. Do you believe Trent Williams maybe on the back 9, maybe even on the final 3 holes of his career, and that is why we saw 41 dominant against him? Or, number one, this is a sign of things to come for Josh Hines Allen as he continues to progress as a top 5, top 10 edge rusher in the National Football League, and maybe an tantalizing matchup, let's call it, with his former teammate and draft mate, Jawan Taylor, as well as rookie Josh Simmons on Monday against the Chiefs.
Yeah, I think most of it is probably Hines Allen. He's been as consistent as ever in the last 3-4 seasons for the Jags. People who don't maybe delve into the data side of things just look at sacks. And I hate that that is the metric that everyone uses to determine who is and is not a good pass rusher in the NFL. In layman's terms, or that's the go-to stat on box scores. But so many times you look at the Jaguars have 13 turnovers. Well, where do you think those are coming from? It's not, pressure certainly has a part in that. And I love what Campanile is doing with the different blitz packages that he's using. The Jaguars are dropping defensive linemen into coverage more than any other team in the NFL. And a lot of that is them loading one side with pressure. And they're sending linebackers and defensive backs. They have the second most pressures outside of the defensive line. Maybe some of that is you don't feel as confident in your interior defensive line, although Eric Armstead's been playing pretty well as a pass rusher. He leads the team in sacks. We were talking about sacks, but he's also tied for 7th in IDL pressures. I think I'd like to see more than 4 games of Trent Williams. I think he's given up like 13 pressures, something like that, which is mediocre for him. But mediocre Trent Williams is probably better than 85-90% of the tackles in the NFL. So I wouldn't be too concerned in pass blocking for San Francisco. I think that they probably got bigger concerns in the run game. Christian McCaffrey averaging, is it 3.9 yards per carry or something like that, is a problem. And that's
especially when you consider how many touches he gets per game.
Correct. Yeah. So, but you were talking about Christian McCaffrey. I wanted to talk about the Jaguars defensive line. In the Vic Fangio Campanile system, that he's adopted a lot of what he does from Vic Fangio. The Jaguars have the lowest percentage of stacked boxes against the run. Mm-hmm. And you're putting so much pressure on the defensive line. And the Jaguars run dime almost more than anybody else in the NFL. So you're really sacrificing your the ability for your back seven to help out your defensive line in the run game. And kudos to Josh Hines Allen, Travon Walker, who are both fantastic in run defense. But the Jaguars, Campanile has really left them on an island without much help from the back seven because you're running dime, you're on the lighter side, dropping a lot of guys into coverage, and they've held up really, really well. They're 8th. It's 3.9 yards per carry, 4th in yards per game. I think it was Mark Sanchez on Fox said that if the Jaguars hold this over the course of the season, it would be the lowest yards per game that they've allowed rushing in franchise history. And that's with their really putting an extra emphasis on the secondary rather than the front seven with the extremely light boxes. And it's so far working out fantastically. Everyone, you have a whole bunch of guys dropping back and having their eyes on the quarterback, and it's led to 13 turnovers.
I actually wrote down, I swear, right here on my notes, I have lightest boxes in the NFL. Explain, and is that sustainable? So I'm glad we've got the Talep going. Dan Griffis here on a Tuesday on Club 904. If you have questions for Dan along the defensive line for your Jacksonville Jaguars, leave them in the comments either on YouTube, X, or wherever you are tuning in live from. M7, did you already talk about Travon? Any update on the injury? M7, no update other than what Liam Cohen told us yesterday, which is that Travon Walker was seeing a specialist. And obviously, once he sees said specialist, we should have a better idea of if he would be available against the Kansas City Chiefs on Monday night. And that's what brings us to the matchup this upcoming week, Dan, in terms of the Chiefs offensive line, which we know is, I don't want to say piecemealed, because there's certainly a couple of stalwarts for Andy Reid and company along that offensive line between Creed Humphrey and Trey Smith, who've been paid handsomely. Jawan Taylor, who came over from the Jaguars and was also paid handsomely in free agency. They have the rookie first rounder in Josh Simmons at left tackle. How do you see this matchup in particular, knowing that Isaiah Pacheco and the Chiefs run game, in terms of in between the tackles, power running, hasn't necessarily been there up to this point in 2025? Maybe they have something in Brashard Smith, the rookie out of SMU, but I'm curious how you think those light boxes will match up against KC.
Yeah, and I didn't mention him, but Devon Hamilton's been a really good run stuffer for the Jaguars for years. He doesn't. There's no metrics or anything for fans to really notice how big of an impact he has in the run game, other than watching film. There's some run stuff data out there that you could look towards, but if you don't have that available to you, it's really hard to notice how good someone is run blocking or run defending. Um, I'm hoping that comes along in the data world at some point, so we have some better metrics to maybe look at in terms of run defense and run blocking. But you mentioned Jawan Taylor. If I'm not mistaken, he's doing pretty well in pass blocking this year. Run blocking has always been more so his concern. It is going to be huge to see who lines up across from him. Josh Hines Allen almost exclusively lines up across from the left tackle, so he's going to be facing Josh Simmons. That's a matchup I really really like. But similar to Liam Cohen's screen game, the Pat Mahomes has been one of the shortest throwers in the NFL in the last several years. A big change from where he was a half decade ago. Throwing all of those deep balls. It's a much shorter game now for Pat Mahomes. A lot of yak ability there. The Jaguars are going to have to do a really good job on tackling, making sure that some of the speedsters that Kansas City has out on the edge don't bust any for big plays. They're certainly capable of doing that. In the run game, though, the Jaguars have the super light boxes, but the guys that are in the box, like Foye Oluokun is. We've all the talks about Devin Lloyd right now, but Foye Oluokun is playing out of his mind as well. He just doesn't have the 4 turnovers that Lloyd does. And when Lloyd and him are on the field in nickel packages together, they're both certainly doing their part. We had that one play. Jordan Lewis missed a tackle, and Lloyd came up and cleaned it up on the edge out there. And that's going to be the stuff that you're looking for against a Kansas City team who really likes to attack the flats with their screen game, and are struggling a little bit running it up the middle.
Pete Prisco is lamenting every Monday on Jaguars Happy Hour, our friends at the Jaguars in-house channel, Dan, that no one's throwing the ball downfield. Everyone's throwing screens, and everyone's completion percentage is up. They're afraid of trying to mess with, especially the Brian Flores, Vic Fangio influenced defenses and that secondary. It's all gone to heck in a handbasket real quick. No, it hasn't, because guess what? Now we see these elite cyborgs on the defensive side of the ball making plays. We see the elite speed of those running backs in the screen game. I know everyone wants to see that big 40-yard bomb. I don't know if we get it on Monday night. Maybe, courtesy one of these two teams. Let's get to one question before I let you empty your notebook on the defensive side of the ball, Dan. This one is from Brian. More important than the defensive line, I think, is how well do Walker and Anton hold up against Chris Jones? Certainly, Chris Jones has the green light to move up and down the defensive line for the Kansas City Chiefs, find the matchup he likes best, and attack it. How do you think he will attack the Jaguars' offensive line, on Monday night?
Yeah, and it's not just Chris Jones either with Spags defense. It's they're going to be coming at you from everywhere, every which way. And him and Campanile are alike in that way. Is you don't know how many, you don't know where from, and you don't know who it's going to be. And that's kind of the thing that has made them so successful, especially for Campanile early on in this Jaguar season, is his ability to simulate blitzes, stunts, things of that matter. But yeah, moving Chris Jones all over the line. I think that they should be okay. Injuries are a bit of a concern. They may, if the Jaguars are without one of their linemen, maybe you see Chris Jones attack there more often. But with the Jaguars offensive line and their screen game and ability to get the ball quick, I expect it to be much of the same of what we've seen in recent weeks regarding the offensive line. Maybe you try to double team and chip him. I will say Karlaftis is healthy, right? I haven't missed anything.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yep. Yeah.
Also, like him and Travon's stats are nearly identical over the last couple of years.
Just write that down, folks.
So he's really, really good. He got paid pretty handsomely, I believe, this past offseason. So he's another guy to watch out for. It's not just Chris Jones. Karlaftis is pretty good as well.
Yeah, he's pretty good, but so is Travon Walker, who hopefully the Jaguars will have back, but we'll obviously
That
keep you
will
posted
definitely
here.
help.
Yes, exactly. Dan,
Ogba,
anything else? Oh, go ahead.
Ogba had 4 pressures, so it's not as if Travon exited and the Jaguars just did nothing afterwards at the left end position going against the right tackle of San Francisco. Smoot also had a couple. The Jaguars are putting him a lot more in not super out wide, more along the interior front as well, mixing it up there with Devon Hamilton, Eric Armstead, Mason Smith. Like to see Mason Smith. I know he had the little pass deflection there on one of the interceptions,
Yes,
but
Devin Lloyd's second interception.
Yeah, didn't do too much in terms of a pass rusher otherwise. But hey, that's one of your biggest plays. I think it probably picked either way. But it's the Jaguars need some better interior help other than Eric Armstead, and hopefully Mason Smith can start to fill that concern there. But if you have him and Armstead, you're probably going to get run against as well.
And that was a big question of Smoot, Ogba. Ogba really hasn't rotated inside a whole heck of a lot in Jacksonville. He really hasn't in his career, but he's more of a rugged edge as opposed to, since I saw a comment on YouTube asking about BJ Green, the undrafted free agent rookie out of Colorado, and this idea of could you see him or Danny Strigow, the other undrafted free agent rookie, to make the team more. But I think that ultimately they like Dan, that versatility, because they're still waiting for Mason Smith to reach his, I don't even say his floor because I think he's at his floor, but they are waiting to see more from him and the interior push. And so until such time, they need to have those edge rushers who can rotate inside and provide even more push to help set up in synchronized pass rush those edge defenders. Anything else before we let you go here, Dan, on a Tuesday edition of Club 904? Empty that notebook. What other stats do people have to know about the Jaguars defense?
Before we were just talking about the pass rush. I don't know. It's certainly changed now that Travon Walker did not play much against San Francisco, but him and Josh Hines-Allen were tied for second among pressures of any duo in the NFL at edge. Travon's fallen down the board a little bit now, but Josh Hines-Allen at tied for third he's one of the best in the NFL. And they made up over 50% of the team pressures. The only duo to do so. I think that's likely changed now. Eric Armstead almost has as much as Travon Walker. But at the same time, when the Jaguars want pressure, they're getting it with all of Campanelli's different blitz packages. Devin Lloyd is tied for second in pressures at linebacker. Eric Murray is one of the guys that has the most pressures at safety. So it's certainly, the Jaguars in their normal rushing four, maybe I listed on there that they're 19th in pressure rate, but when the Jaguars want pressure, they're getting it through really unique, creative ways. And they're simulating blitzes a lot as well. It's not like they're sacrificing all of their secondary members to go rush the passer. They're being really, really smart on defense, and kudos to Campanelli, who's, if you want to talk about getting players to get to their ceiling, Eric Armstead, Devin Lloyd, Andrew Wingard are all guys that have previously had their struggles, and a lot of fans were maybe soured on it at various points of their career, and all are playing very, very well right now. I haven't even Wingard is. I know he had some Jaguar safeties are pretty banged up right now, but he's been a guy that I haven't really noticed getting beat too much through the air. And also kudos Dennis Gardeck.
Gardeck. Gardeck, as everyone loves to shout it. Everyone in that building loves to say it. Gardeck.
He's only playing like 33% of the snaps, but like his impact is much more significant than that. He's playing really, really well. And I sometimes I was at the game against Houston, and a couple of times I just saw the white guy 40s number with the long blonde hair, and I was like, look at Dewey go. And I was like, wait a minute, nope, that's
We got
Gardeck.
2 of them now.
I know. And so kudos to him too. The Jaguars aren't playing a whole lot of base or using him. You saw him more this past weekend, and he's certainly making the most of his opportunities, especially for a guy that maybe we didn't think was going to have the biggest impact.
Well, because we didn't know coming off of a second ACL tear exactly what he would look like. Dan, I asked you for 15 to 20 minutes. You gave me over 30. We appreciate you hopping on Club 904. Won't be the last time you hear from him, folks. So leave comments, leave questions, and of course, engage with him on X at Dan D. Griffis. Terrific stuff as always, my friend.
Thank you, Mia.
There he goes, Dan Griffis. Of course, you can also read all of his stuff at actionsportsjax.com. We've got to hit a commercial break, folks, because don't forget, we have the debut, the season premiere of Talon Talks, the UNF exclusive show coming up on the Action Sports Jax 24/7 channel at 2 o'clock. So we got to make sure we still get to our Brian Thomas Jr. film breakdown and a whole lot more. You are listening to Club 904 on a Tuesday here on the Action Sports Jax 24/7 channel.
Welcome inside the Armor Guard exterior and gutter helmet showroom. There's a lot going on, like glass exteriors, replacement windows, and down there we have the retractable screens and awnings, plus hurricane protection. Let's talk more about those gutters, and to do that, we bring in Kevin. He's the owner, he's the expert. Why gutter helmet?
Well, gutter helmet is truly the only maintenance-free product. It lets the trash and debris go on the ground, the water wraps around and goes inside. Unlike filters, they sit on top of the gutters, and the trash and debris build up on top of filters, which requires maintenance. With gutter helmet, we're going to keep you off the ladder, the most dangerous thing in your garage. With gutter helmet, you'll never clean your gutters again. So get off the ladder and put on the helmet. Gutter helmet.
Get a free estimate at gutterhelmetofnorthflorida.com. You can also call 904-762-7779 or visit the showroom on St. John's Bluff Road in Jacksonville.
Empower a future, inspire a dream. It's a bold but simple mission for the Jacksonville Police Athletic League known as JaxPal. Help the next generation of kids in Jacksonville shape a brighter future. Their after-school programs, teenage leadership programs. There's community outreach.
This has been just an awesome opportunity to be out here with my colleagues and do something good for the community. It's really been an interesting opportunity to just see everybody work together in a way that we don't normally in the office.
And there's sports. There are also ways you can help the next generation with a donation of any kind. Just visit jaxpal.org to get more information. Empower a future, inspire a dream with JaxPal.
I've been telling you about CGC Water Treatment and Plumbing for a long time now. Their drinking water systems remove up to 99% of contaminants. We've had a Connecticut water softener and drinking water system in our home for more than 7 years. You can see the difference whether you're washing clothes, the dishes, or what I like to do most, fill this up for some coffee every morning, and mostly all day. Remember, if you're not filtering your water, you are the filter. Don't be the filter. Right now, you can get a free Connecticut reverse osmosis system with a purchase of a Connecticut Premier Softener. The experts at CGC Water Treatment and Plumbing will test your water for free and determine your water score. Don't know your water score? CGC will find out and recommend the appropriate Connecticut water treatment solutions so you can improve it. Call 904-552-1242 or visit cgcwater.com. Ask about our 90-day love it or leave it guarantee. CGC Water Treatment and Plumbing, an authorized independent Connecticut dealer. Florida license number CFC 1432579.
There's a saying in sports, you can't win them all, but you can win a lot with good folks on your team. Like that one painter, First Coast. It's tough to beat the sun in Florida, so your home fades. It's tough to beat that HOA when they come calling. Beat the sun, beat the HOA with that one painter, First Coast. And it's a good time to do it. With less rain to work around and painting in mild temperatures is perfect. After all, the paint bonds to the surface so much better. Give That One Painter First Coast a call at 904-417-3557 or look them up at first-coast.thatonepainter.com. Fast estimate, guidance on color and HOA requirements, and the highest quality job you'll find anywhere. Be a big winner in your neighborhood with That One Painter First Coast on your team.
Sun's out, suits out. That's right, it's summertime in Florida, which means it's time to say goodbye to bulking season and hello to shredding season. But if you're like me, you're having a hard time sculpting and shaping those final pounds. That is until I came and saw my friends over at Ponte Vedra Vein and Aesthetics. Right now, everyone is hopping on the Evolve X train, and the only destination is finding your perfect summer body. The technology uses electrical muscle stimulation and radio frequency energy to cause your muscles to contract, all while heating up those deep layers of your skin and tissue to produce collagen and reduce fat. It's like doing 1,000 sit-ups in 30 minutes. No pain, no needles, just results, right? That's right. So leave those winter layers back at the station and come look and feel your best with the team here at Ponte Vedra Vein and Aesthetics. Visit them at one of their 2 locations, either over in Ponte Vedra or on the south side.
Welcome back into a Tuesday edition of Club 904. Mia O'Brien, our thanks to Dan Griffis for hopping on with us to dive inside the data bank that is the Inside the Numbers segment here on this little show, syndicated on the Action Sports Jacks 24/7 channel. Want to dive a little bit deeper. We don't have Austin Lane today as he works his way back across the Atlantic and I guess the Pacific too from Australia, where he was taking part in a UFC event. And so we're going to do a little impromptu 1-2 film step in addition to our breakdown of Trevor Lawrence's near interception against the San Francisco 49ers with Dan earlier in the program. Of course, if you missed any of the show, you can go back and listen to it on demand on the Action Sports Jacks YouTube channel, as well as in podcast form, wherever you get your podcast. Leading things off, in case you missed it in the Action Sports Jacks post game on Sunday, live from San Francisco, want you guys to hear from Brian Thomas Jr., easily his most productive game of the 2025 season to date. And we're going to look a little closer inside the numbers as to why that may have been here in just a second. But first, let's hear from the man himself, number 7, BTJ.
This one right here to come out this way and now go to 3-1.
It's super big. I mean, it wasn't pretty, but we came out, stuck together, and got the team win, and that's all that matters. So yeah.
What's it say about your team here? That you've said that a couple of times. It hasn't always been pretty so far, and you're sitting here 3-1. What's it say about you guys?
That we can be even with all the good things we're doing now, and we can be even better than we are right now. Just got to get a lot of things cleaned up, get the penalties, shifts, and motions cleaned up, all the little stuff, and we'll come out and be better than we were.
This one feel good for you after a couple of tough weeks to contribute the way you did?
Yeah, definitely. Just to get back rolling, get back on track. Should be there, help my team out, help my teammates out, and just contribute to the win. So yeah, it feels great.
Did you have a good week coming in, practice-wise, and feel good coming into this one?
Yeah, definitely. I had a pretty good week this week. Was feeling a lot better than I was. So yeah, just had a pretty good week and was feeling a lot better.
I don't know if you caught it at the end, Liam and Salah, little exchange, but how much of an edge does Liam bring to you guys in this locker room right now, early in his tenure?
I didn't catch that, but yeah, I mean, that's after every meeting, and it's up in the hallways. It's like an edge. You got to go out there and have an edge, play with an edge. He brings that, so that's what we come out here and try to give to him.
Our thanks again to the crew here at Action Sports Jacks for making the trip out there to San Francisco and getting all of that terrific sound post-game. Brian Thomas Jr., in terms of his production, we've gone through the numbers with Dan Griffis before in terms of the outbreaking routes versus inbreaking routes, this idea of maybe those crossing routes having to go through traffic. Maybe that is not where his skill set can be best utilized and maximized. But ultimately, if he is to be a top 10 receiver in the National Football League, he's got to be able to not only embrace contact, but quite frankly, run the whole route tree and run it at an exquisite level. So Nate Tice of of Yahoo Sports, almost said the Athletic Football Show, tweeted this out yesterday, and we're going to look at the video as well, and we're going to get to some of Liam Cohen's comments. BTJ having some confidence issues running over the middle. Jaguars and Trevor Lawrence said, no problem, we'll just target you on nothing but outbreaking routes. Even got a quick game under center out route in there. I asked Liam Cohen about this in terms of the production we saw from BTJ on Sunday against the Niners. And ultimately, he said that when it came to Brian Thomas Jr.'s production, it wasn't designed that they were just going to give him easy buttons that he's accustomed to. It was much more about Brian noticing a soft spot in the defense for the Niners, who were without Renardo Green, and saying, you know what, if the out route's open, if the outbreaking routes and everything along the sideline, they're giving it to me, keep feeding me there. And maybe that's Liam Cohen just protecting his guy and not suggesting that they tried to put some training wheels. I don't want to say training wheels in a negative sense, but trying to get Brian Thomas Jr. back to basics. They intentionally said, what do you want to run? What is going to make you most comfortable and reinstill your confidence? But it does say, hey, you know what? That guy is still in there. He has confidence now. Now can we see him go across the middle of the field? Can we see him be able to run every single route that he is asked to do, and additionally, maybe even catch a deep ball or two, which has been a critique of the Jaguars offense up to this point. So what will we see against the San Francisco 49ers? Will we see Brian Thomas Jr. and this Jaguars offense take the next step when it comes to that downfield vertical passing? We're going to hit that as well as your final questions. Get those questions in on a Tuesday edition of Club 904 before we hand it off to Talent Talks, our new UNF sports show here on Action Sports Jacks, coming up after this, but live Q&A on the other side of this commercial.
Welcome inside the Armor Guard exterior and gutter helmet showroom. There's a lot going on, like glass exteriors, replacement windows, and down there we have the retractable screens and awnings, plus hurricane protection. Let's talk more about those gutters, and to do that, we bring in Kevin. He's the owner, he's the expert. Why Gutter Helmet?
Well, Gutter Helmet is truly the only maintenance-free product. It lets the trash and debris go on the ground. The water wraps around and goes inside. Unlike filters, they sit on top of the gutters, and the trash and debris build up on top of filters, which requires maintenance. With Gutter Helmet, we're going to keep you off the ladder, the most dangerous thing in your garage. With Gutter Helmet, you'll never clean your gutters again. So get off the ladder and put on the helmet. Gutter Helmet.
Get a free estimate at gutterhelmetofnorthflorida.com. You can also call 904-762-7779 or visit the showroom on St. John's Bluff Road in Jacksonville.
Empower a future, inspire a dream. It's a bold but simple mission for the Jacksonville Police Athletic League known as Jax PAL. Help the next generation of kids in Jacksonville shape a brighter future. Their after-school programs, teenage leadership programs. There's community outreach.
It's been just an awesome opportunity to be out here with my colleagues and do something good for the community. It's really been an interesting opportunity to just see everybody work together in a way that we don't normally in the office.
And there's sports. There are also ways you can help the next generation with a donation of any kind. Just visit jaxpal.org to get more information. Empower a future, inspire a dream with Jax PAL.
I've been telling you about CGC Water Treatment and Plumbing for a long time now. Their drinking water systems remove up to 99% of contaminants. We've had a Connecticut water softener and drinking water system in our home for more than 7 years. You can see the difference whether you're washing clothes, the dishes, or what I like to do most, fill this up for some coffee every morning, and mostly all day. Remember, if you're not filtering your water, you are the filter. Don't be the filter. Right now, you can get a free Connecticut reverse osmosis system with a purchase of a Connecticut Premier Softener. The experts at CGC Water Treatment and Plumbing will test your water for free and determine your water score. Don't know your water score? CGC will find out and recommend the appropriate Connecticut water treatment solutions so you can improve it. Call 904-552-1242 or visit cgcwater.com. Ask about our 90-day love it or leave it guarantee. CGC Water Treatment and Plumbing, an authorized independent Connecticut dealer. Florida license number CFC 1432579.
There's a saying in sports, You can't win them all, but you can win a lot with good folks on your team, like that one painter, First Coast. It's tough to beat the sun in Florida, so your home fades. It's tough to beat that HOA when they come calling. Beat the sun, beat the HOA with that one painter, First Coast. And it's a good time to do it. Less rain to work around, and painting in mild temperatures is perfect. After all, the paint bonds to the surface so much better. Give that one painter First Coast a call at 904-417-3557 or look them up at first-coast.thatonepainter.com. Fast estimate, guidance on color and HOA requirements, and the highest quality job you'll find anywhere. Be a big winner in your neighborhood with that one painter First Coast on your team.
Sun's out, suits out. That's right, it's summertime in Florida, which means it's time to say goodbye to bulking season and hello to shredding season. But if you're like me, you're having a hard time sculpting and shaping those final pounds. That is until I came and saw my friends over at Ponte Vedra Vein and Aesthetics. Right now, everyone is hopping on the Evolve X train, and the only destination is finding your perfect summer body. The technology uses electrical muscle stimulation and radio frequency energy to cause your muscles to contract, all while heating up those deep layers of your skin and tissue to produce collagen and reduce fat. It's like doing 1,000 sit-ups in 30 minutes. No pain, no needles, just results, right?
That's right.
So leave those winter layers back at the station and come look and feel your best with the team here at Ponte Vedra Vein and Aesthetics. Visit them at one of their 2 locations, either over in Ponte Vedra or on the south side.
Welcome back into a Tuesday edition of Club 904. If you haven't already, be sure to like and subscribe to our friends at the Action Sports Jacks 24/7 channel, whether you're watching on YouTube, X, Facebook, Twitch, wherever you are listening to this podcast, as well as all of the various podcast platforms. If you're catching us on Spotify or Apple Podcasts, Amazon Podcasts, wherever you are listening, you can also be sure to check out the O'Brien NFL Notebook. If you're looking for the nifty little notebooks that I was writing on Twitter, they have now moved to my personal website, so be sure to subscribe. Free 7-day trial is still going on. You also can become a standard scooper for just $5 per month. We're having a ton of fun on the Discord channel there, especially during the games. So get in on the conversation and subscribe to the O'Brien NFL Notebook today. All right, before we get out of here and we hand it off to the boys of the University of North Florida. Yes, that's true. Now on Tuesdays, Talent Talks with Richard Miller and Brent Martineau going to be coming at you live on the Action Sports Jacks 24/7 channel. Let's get to some of your questions. Ricky is out here on the YouTube channel. Is it that Ricky? I don't know if it is or not. I appreciate him answering Robert's question, and so let's all discuss it together. How do the Jags improve in the third quarter in scoring? I missed this stat when we just broke down Brian Thomas Jr. and this idea of perhaps maybe more out-breaking routes, less in-breaking routes because of the struggles in the middle of the field. Brian Thomas Jr. does not have a catch in the third quarter of the first 4 games of the 2025 season. That is courtesy of our friend Daniel Griffis, who also joined us earlier in the show. In case you missed that, be sure to go back and listen to it on demand. I think that for the Jaguars, yes, as Robert and Ricky were discussing in the YouTube chat, there is something to the opening script. I honestly think, though, that Trevor Lawrence has looked fine in the second quarter of games. It's not like as soon as they get off the script and they're no longer in a synchronized offense that's been practiced all week, all of a sudden the quarterback and the offense falls off. Yes, they've got a couple of 3-and-outs. They currently rank, I believe it's 7th in the National Football League in percentage of 3-and-outs, and that is obviously not encouraging. But they've also scored on their opening drive in 3 of their 4 games to start the season. And that's obviously a positive development for a team that struggled to score in the first quarter of games, ranked near the bottom in the league in that department in all of 2024. So as to why there are these third quarter woes coming out of the locker room, it's a question, I think, for the offensive staff. I think that some of it has to deal with, as Liam Cohen said on Monday, those pre-snap penalties. And once they start snowballing, and this offense is playing behind the sticks, and all of a sudden they're out of rhythm and they can't run the ball because they're in 1st and 20, 2nd and long. Maybe that's part of it, and then the operation becomes disjointed. My solution, as those of you who follow me on Twitter know, is just keep running the ball, because Travis Etienne is 3rd in the league in rushing. He's averaging over 6 yards a carry on Sunday. I don't understand why you just don't keep running it, because clearly the Jaguars were gashing the Niners defensive line in particular. Will they be able to do the same on Monday night? that remains to be seen. Ricky also adds BTJ, jet sweeps, bubble screams with Tootin and ETN getting the rock on RPOs. I love how we are using the tight ends off blocking them, sneaking outs. But second half, it all seems a bit rushed and panic stations. I'm confident after the bye week, it will look more polished and efficient. That's a great shout, Ricky. And not even just the bye week. Liam Cohen said it last week. He felt like that Tampa offense from a season ago that featured a future Hall of Famer in Mike Evans and a perennial Pro Bowler and Chris Godwin for part of the year, and obviously an emerging running back in Bucky Irving. That offense really didn't find its stride until week 4, week 5, which is where we are right now. And it did so without a healthy supporting cast. The Jaguars, knock on wood, right now are as healthy as they've ever been, I think, outside of the 2022 season in my 7 years of covering the team entering week 5. And so I think that that's where a lot of this is new. A lot of the pre-snap is new. That's why they're still growing to take place. And I do agree that after the bye week, maybe you'll see more of a polished product. But I think you're already starting to see signs of it. By the way, if anyone watched Monday Night Football, that doubleheader, if anyone watched Sunday Night Football, the amount of pre-snap penalties in the league right now is just as rampant as Pete Prisco of CBS Sports and Jaguars Happy Hour lamenting that no one is throwing the ball downfield. No one's throwing the ball downfield, and everyone's getting penalized left and right for pre-snap motion, for illegal shift, for false start. Like, it's not just the Jaguars. Oh, and by the way, the San Francisco 49ers had 6 drops on Sunday. So good context to understand that while, yes, this team is still learning and growing, every team in the National Football League is still learning and growing. I agree, Brian. The third quarter took 4 hours on Sunday. Mike says that's because it's a testament to defenses making halftime adjustments. Halftime adjustments, I've heard from some, are overrated because you're really only in the locker room for a grand total of 15 minutes, and not even, because you're getting a drink, you're going to the bathroom. You've really only got about 7 or 8 minutes to talk to each other. So it's not even so much defensive adjustments, as maybe this is a good place to end today's program, as it is the signs and the tells during the week in film study, and then recognizing those in real time, whoever Liam Cohen has assigned that duty to up in the press box, and then coming together and saying, okay, this is what we saw. Yes, that's an adjustment too, but I think a lot of that is happening on the fly and not just in a halftime locker room setting. We appreciate you guys hanging out with us here on a Tuesday edition of Club 904. Thursday, we're going to get a little weird, folks, and it's going to be a lot of fun. Tucker Franklin from Kansas City Sports Network is going to hop in with us. I will be live at the Miller Electric Center because, again, the Jaguars are off on Wednesday due to Monday Night Football next week. We will be in the building on Thursday, so Liam Cohen will speak at 10:30 a.m. Practice is around noon. You'll get your regularly scheduled Club 904 at 1 p.m. live, and they'll have Tucker Franklin join me. If you've watched Up and Adams before, yes, you know who Tucker is. It's a bad day to be a beer if Tucker Franklin's around, even at 1 p.m. Eastern time, like we will experience this upcoming Thursday. And then the Jaguars locker room will open. You'll get content from there, not just from me, but also from the whole crew at Action Sports Jacks and beyond. Appreciate you guys hanging out with us. We will catch you on Thursday.
Welcome inside the Armor Guard Exterior and Gutter Helmet Showroom. There's a lot going on, like glass exteriors, replacement windows, and down there we have the retractable screens and awnings, plus hurricane protection. Let's talk more about those gutters, and to do that, we bring in Kevin. He's the owner, he's the expert. Why Gutter Helmet?
Well, Gutter Helmet is truly the only maintenance-free product. It lets the trash and debris go on the ground, the water wraps around and goes inside. Unlike filters, they sit on top of the gutters, and the trash and debris build up on top of filters, which requires maintenance. With Gutter Helmet, we're going to keep you off the ladder, the most dangerous thing in your garage. With Gutter Helmet, you'll never clean your gutters again. So get off the ladder and put on the helmet. Gutter Helmet.
Get a free estimate at gutterhelmetofnorthflorida.com. You can also call 904-762-7779 or visit the showroom on St. John's Bluff Road in Jacksonville.
Empower a future, inspire a dream. It's a bold but simple mission for the Jacksonville Police Athletic League, known as Jax PAL. Help the next generation of kids in Jacksonville shape a brighter future. Their after-school programs, teenage leadership programs. There's community outreach.
This has been just an awesome opportunity to be out here with my colleagues and do something good for the community. It's really been an interesting opportunity to just see everybody